Do you have a snowblower that's not moving?
Shavings.
Damn. So what do you do in a situation like this? Do we check the belts? Well, the belts look good. So it's not the belts, so now what do we do? Well, maybe we just put it to sleep. But there are oh, yeah. Look at that. Look at this. This thing is knackered. Well, there's your problem. So, looks like we're gonna have to replace this wheel here, and among a few other little things. Looks like the spring's broken too. So we'll get this kind of cleaned up and we'll have to start taking it apart. We're gonna have to pull this plate off here. We're gonna have to pull this plate off here. We're gonna have to remove this disc. And we're gonna have to remove this wheel, which the rubber is completely gone on. So they ran it far too long without the rubber on there, and then they just blasted through this aluminum disc here. So let's go ahead and get these removed. So let's start off with pulling this off so I can get this flipped up high enough so I can get the big bolt out from behind there that's holding it in place like so. So there's a bolt back there. I need to get that bolt off. This is what this part should have looked like. This one's a little harder because we have the tracks and we have all this stuff in the way. Okay, so now, I wonder if I can sneak this out. In order to gain or allow this to lift up high enough to pop it out, because it looks like it's in the way. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. So let me get those popped loose. There we go. Damn, that one's tight. Let's see if I can do it this way. There we go. So the other side wants to go. Got that. Oh, maybe I can just get it far enough. Actually, it'll probably just be easier to take it all the way out. There we go. Get that out. Actually, I don't want to pull these out because I think they're going to be a pain to get back in. So to not accidentally lose those, I'm going to put the nuts on it just like so. There we go. So now, should be able to pull this guy out. So let's get this one off now. So I got to get the other 4 bolts off on this side. There we go. Now I should be able to pull this brake assembly out and then rock it up and out of the way. Okay. So now we have a little bearing that comes off the end, like so, with the spacer that went right on here, along with the washer. The same thing over here. Yeah. It looks like they have 2 spacers. This is larger spacer, and then of course your bearing, and it's all captured by the cover. Goes in like that, and it locks it all in place so that this can't. I gotta get the other. So we have 2 big C-clips on each side. We're gonna have to pop off. Let me grab a little flathead that hopefully we can try to pop this off right here, which actually that's going to be a real pain. Let's see, what can I do? In this case, I need to get this whole thing out, and ideally I need to push it out this way. Get in there with a screwdriver. So that's what was in there. I had to kind of reach in there and then kind of push up along this to just kind of pop it out of place. And fortunately I was able to get it out. And then they had a washer just behind that. And then this whole thing should come right off. This whole guy. And then we've got to be careful. There's a whole bunch of needle bearings in there and stuff in this whole little pack. We're going to have to kind of clean this up. But for now, I'm just going to set it aside. And then same gig on this side, but I'm hoping I can just kind of turn it a little bit, gain a little more access to this E-clip. There we go. This is the other E-clip. Set it right there. And then there should be a washer. And there is. We're gonna have to clean all of this. There's another washer. And then get this whole assembly out. Like so. There we go. And then we slide this out like so. Yeah, so it looks like they ran it for quite a while without rubber on it, which just trashed that wheel. So we'll fix that, but for now we're gonna set it aside because we really need to get this plate unbolted so we can get a new one installed. So let me see what size that one is. May have to somehow, oh wait, I got her in there. Wow, that's on there. More leverage. So we're gonna have to create ourselves a nice little lever. There we go. Got it loose. So one of the tricks I like to do, when especially you don't have some pipe laying around, but generally most people have sockets and some extensions, I would hope. So what I do is I find a socket that just fits on there nicely with a long extension, and you can use that as a nice breaker arm bar. Okay, so now get this off. Then I'm gonna have to kind of help it. What I did is I just put the nut back on just slightly to tap it kind of loose. But I notice also I need to get this belt. So let me get some, I need to get some tension, or get this belt loose enough that I can pop it off. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we got to pull that cover back off. We got to get some tension on that, or get that belt loosened up on this side so we can get that pulled off all the way. Okay, so we got to get this belt loose. There we go. Got off the little tensioner arm, and now should be able to pull it out. So let me cut the sticker off, and then I'll show you the two. So this is the old one. This is the new one. And unfortunately, what happened is they ran out of rubber on the wheel, and so this part of the friction disc for the wheel was hidden against this disc instead of the friction material, the rubber, and it just started wearing this plate out really bad, and it just really messed it up. And unfortunately, this part is no longer available. This was the last part I was able to find through Parts Tree, but they don't make this one anymore, at least for this particular snow blower. So the customer needs to take care in making sure that he doesn't do that again. If he starts to feel something, stop and inspect. And then this big nut mounted on here like so. So I got to put this back on, making sure it's properly keyed in here. And it's kind of hard to see, but then got it in just like so. Then we got to lift this whole plate up and get this nut reinstalled. Okay, so then we'll give it a little tension, kind of like how it was before.
Some feet pounds.
Some feet pounds. Okay, I made sure the belt is on there. There's a spring that goes from here. Let me grab the new spring here. So this spring connects from here to, where is it?
I need a probe lens. Hey, twine.
All right, so I need to get this hooked up this plate here. And in order to do that, I'm gonna hook the loop in on one side. I'm gonna pull it up. It's gonna be kind of hard to do. Let me see if I can pull these out a little further. Let me see if I can pull it up through here so it's more in line with the direction I need to go. There we go. And then got it hooked up, just like so. So now, if this is pulled on, it retracts back, as it should. This came off just like so. We gotta take this wheel off. We gotta replace both sides of it. We got one side here, and then we got the other side here, along with the new rubber. And this is what it should have looked like on there. So we're gonna go ahead and pull that off. This piece, in order to take it out, it looks like we probably have to press this piece out. And so what I'm thinking of doing is, I'm thinking of going to my vise, I'm gonna set it so this seats on there like so. And then I'm gonna take a socket after I clean up around here and then tap on this in hopes that I can push this centerpiece out so I can essentially press this out. So I'm gonna do that. There we go. There we go. Pull that off. This pulls out like so. So it all went on just like this. So now I'm gonna set it just like that, grab the new one. Make sure get it on the right way. And then we gotta press this back down. So to do that, I'm gonna go the opposite direction. And ideally, I wanna support this part of the bearing. So I need like a big socket to hopefully support that on. Let's see, what do we got? This one's a little bit small. So let me see if I got some bigger ones. Yeah, that would work. So if I hold this like this, okay. So I'm thinking, there we go. So we're just hitting that. Now I want to take this out. I'm hoping I can get this in just enough. Moving around quite a bit, but we are there. We just did it. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad that worked out and everything's good there. This feels fine. Okay, so now the rubber on there. Get this rubber on here. And let's see. So they have a couple spots. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. These are self-tappers. So we're gonna move to the flat side here and then the tapered here that's sticking through. I want to use those because I'm going to go in that direction. So I'm just lining up a flat spot with one of those taper spots. And then we're going to now I'm not going to get it tight. I'm just going to get it just barely snug. And then I'm going to go to the complete opposite side, making sure that these are in place and being retained. Okay, so before I tighten it up, I just want to make sure the rubber is kind of retained in there. How it kind of has this little lip on the inside, and then the rubber, I should have showed it, but it had like a little indent, and so I'm just making sure it's locked in there like it should. And so far, everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of snug that up. Okay, so that's all snugged up. This rubber looks good. And this rotates as it should. And I think the idea behind whoever put these on is if these were to ever become loose, they're still retained with the nylon nut. So I'm just going to go ahead and put them back on since they were on there. And then the last one. There we go. Perfect. So that is all on there like it should be. We got to clean these things up. I really don't want to have to pull them apart. All the nastiness is on the outside. So I just want to make sure this stuff doesn't get on the inside. And then add a little bit of paper towel here to help kind of plug this. And the same thing on the other side. There we go. And then we'll get this stuff cleaned up. And actually, I'm gonna grab a little bit of mineral spirits because the mineral spirits helps kind of break down that oil, especially what little bits on the outside. Makes it a little easier to kind of clean up. There we go. That's much better. Okay. Okay. Whoop. Well, I guess we're going to show you what it looks like on the inside. Has little planetary gears and stuff. And since we have it open, and let's see, and it's just grease, so it looks like I'm going to get some of this out, and then we'll put some fresh in there. And we'll get this back on. There we go. Rotate it as it should. I'm gonna get a little bit of grease down in here on the roller bearings. There we go. And then I also like to put some grease on this shaft to allow the friction disc to slide up and down easier. This went in just like that, and this goes on like so. And it'll slide in and out like that. So we're gonna get this whole assembly back inside the system here, and then we'll reattach this side on the one end. We'll clean that up and then reattach that side. Okay, so to install this, bring it in like so, and then make sure you try to hook this piece into this bar here, because this is what controls the movement of that friction wheel. So that needs to go back in its spot. If you don't do it there, it's going to be harder to do. So now that's in there, and if you slide the shaft back and forth, you can see that's retained also. So now I'm going to slide this back enough, slide this down, and push that through like so. Okay, so we'll leave that sitting right now. We got to clean up these pieces. So this washer went on first. I'm gonna just apply just a little bit of grease to it so we can reduce the chances of it rusting. And then same thing with this. Just apply a little bit of grease to it. And then we'll get this thing locked back into place. But I gotta find its little slot, which is right there. So you gotta make sure that this whole planetary gear setup is slid in all the way. If you notice right here on this side, it has the little teeth on this axle right here, and that connects to the inner part inside there. So that has to slide in all the way. So got that slid in. I can see where this E-clip can now get reinstalled. And hopefully I can just kind of push it on with a long pair that one on pretty easy, like so. Okay, so now it has all of these other spacers. Just gonna kind of wipe them off real quick. Do the exact same thing. Apply a little bit of grease on them, just so they don't rust up and seize in place. So there's not really any particular order on this. It's just spacers. They had it just like this though, but technically it can be on either side. It really doesn't matter. So they had the two thin washers and then the big thick washer. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on the end of that. And then this goes in this way with the retainer facing this side. And the main reason for that is it locks into this cover here, so it can't get pushed out. If you have it flipped over, it's not going to stick out through here enough to help kind of retain it. So like that, it helps kind of retain this bearing. And if you put it in the wrong way, it's not going to retain it. It's just going to kind of flop around. So make note of that. So this has to go where the lock is on this side. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that on the end of that, and then that cover will get installed. But before we do that, I wanna get the other side done and ready, because sometimes it's a pain to slide this planetary gear setup back on the other side when you have that all buttoned up. So I like to have things kind of loose so I can work it. So we're gonna get this kind of cleaned up. Okay. So I'm going to kind of do what I did on the other one. Just check in here, making sure. Yeah, we're going to add some more grease in here. So we're just adding some more grease to these planetary gears since we're already in here. There we go. And then add some grease to those needle bearings. There we go. Gonna go ahead and install this planetary gear setup. I just greased everything. I'm gonna reinstall in this shaft. So I gotta make sure it, see, and this is where it's nice to be able to move things around. I noticed that this popped out of place, so I gotta get that back in. And then this can slide in. And I'm gonna try to grab the other side. There we go. And not there. Now we got it all the way in. And then as you can see right here, there's just a slight lip here, and that's where the E-ring snaps in, or E-clip snaps back into place. So this is also why I don't like that back other side closed off, because I couldn't have shifted things around like I needed to. So I'm gonna go ahead and wipe off the spacer here, add a little bit of grease to it, and that slides in here on the shaft. Then I'll go ahead and take this E-clip, add a little bit of grease to it, and then this goes right like so. And I'm gonna see if I can grab my pliers, not my pliers, but my flathead, and see if I can kind of just push it. Oop. So let me grab my big pliers and see if I can.
Those clips are fun, and then especially when they go pa-twang.
Yep. See if I can kind of help it. And see, what sucks is you have all this stuff in the way, so you don't really have a lot of room. And I don't even know if I can. Oh, I think I might have it. If not, just, yep, gotta help that on. Now she's locked in place. All right. So now we gotta clean up these spacers. Yeah, this job isn't always the most cleanliness job on some of these. Okay, so now I like to apply a little bit of grease on these. And this one apparently has 3 spacers. And then this guy. And then this goes on just like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and install these. Like so. And now I can turn these by hand, and now we can put the plates back on. So just to see over here, if you want to look on this side, you can see that. So you can see that we have to always make sure that this is in its proper spot right here. And then you have to make sure these are seated in all the way. Same thing on this side. And then once you get everything in place, and kind of centered, then you can go ahead and start installing the lockers or the brakes back into place. So I'm gonna start with this side since it's a little easier. I'm gonna first wipe off my hands, try to reduce the amount of grease I get everywhere. Sneaks down. Lock has to get pulled on. And it goes on just like that. There we go. So hold that in place. Grab my bolts. And try to feel for the holes. So I'm just getting one just slightly snug, and that way it kind of holds things somewhat in place. Okay, I'm able to get this one in. Okay, so I got all 4 bolts started, and now I'm snugging them, getting them all snugged up. And then there's one there and one over here. Let's see if I can do that one from here.
Yeah, that whole transmission assembly is kind of steam powered.
It is. And they're a real pain to kind of work on. There we go. Now that's snugged up, so this side is done. Now I gotta install this side. What I find that's easier is, one, we gotta make sure this is on all the way, like so. And then it's easier to pull this lever up as you put this back on. So I think I had to, on this side, let's see here, I gotta remember which direction. So yeah, so this goes on just like this. So if I pull this lever in, that way it makes it a little easier. And then, there we go. Got her in place. Now I gotta get these bolts all kind of started by hand. So this one I'm going to get a little bit closer. And then get this last one started, and then we can snug everything up. So now when you move this forward and back, so this is reverse all the way, and then this is forward all the way. That's how it's supposed to work. So that's all moving nicely as it should. And now I need to making sure this is moving and this one's moving, and then this is the plate for the friction wheel. So when you pull this lever back, it transfers power from this friction wheel here to this friction disc, and then to the drive system. But we also need to reinstall that belt. That belt I took off earlier. I'm gonna make sure I get the tension back on this. So I'm gonna reinstall it. Get behind there. There we go. So now that's back on as it should be. All right, so now that everything's good there, I'm gonna reinstall this lever, which moves the tracks up and down. And I gotta take this nut off the end of these two bolts, because we're gonna have to kind of pull it. So I'm gonna get the top one just started. Problem is, you have to have like 30 hands to hold different things. Dang it. Of course my speed wrench is not working right. Yeah, something's messed up with this one apparently. All right, so now that those are in like so, I'm moving the bar up and down, and everything is moving as it should. So last thing I need to do is go ahead and gently, I'm gonna grab this behind you, sorry. Just kind of gently get some of this Christmas material out. We'll go ahead and reinstall this plate back on. Tuck that back into place and get her all buttoned up. So we'll just get that started there. Get that started there. All right, now we can wake her up. There we go. Okay, so one thing we do need to do is put this belt cover back on, because I had to take it off just to get this belt loose. So we're gonna go ahead and put this back on. Just made sure the belt looked good. Everything looked good. Get that one buttoned up. Now we can start her up and see how she behaves. So, choke, prime, throttle. That's good. Should be moving. Yeah, I know. That's why I was trying to be careful there. There we go. So that's how you fix a drive system on one of these snow blowers if you have friction disc issues and or the friction plates. Now we just got to clean this thing up and deliver it to the customer.